Hello, welcome to Cory Reads. Today I am reading chapter 2 of the first book of Moses called Genesis. And this is out of the Bible, same Bible from late 1890s. And so it sounds a little bit different than what you have currently. That's because things change over time. But most of it should be basically the same. But let's just start reading and find out. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So basically, the seventh day is Sunday, day of rest. Um, so that's most people go to church, pray to God then on Sunday, on the days trying to rest. But that is the day it is. And these are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostril the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So basically, God made it rain, which is going to cause all the plants and everything that are there to grow. And then he made man out of dust from the ground, and then breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and made a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. So he put the man, Adam, into Eden. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four lands. So at this point, nobody really knows where Eden's supposed to be. But here's it's explaining the four rivers that came out. So it kind of gives a location. So Moses was trying to explain where Eden is, using the geographical names and everything back then, which obviously aren't the same over time. And since things change, nobody knows exactly the location where Eden is supposed to be. There's plenty of clues and hints and ideas, but nothing solid fact. All right, and the name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon, and the same is it that compassed the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth towards the east of Assyria, and the fourth river is Euphrates. See, all those rivers should be pretty easy to identify, the lands, and the names are all, the Euphrates, Havilah. It's all tells you the location. You just gotta, figure out where it is exactly, but none of it kind of fits with the current day, which of course, if everything kind of moving around, climate's changing, the landscapes, the course of the rivers over time. So it would be hard to actually pinpoint exactly based on this, since it was written such a long time ago. It's nearly impossible to pinpoint it just off this information. And then we moved on. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So all the trees that produce fruit that are pleasant to look at are in the garden. So it's just really beautiful, pretty. Um, and Adam's there, and he's like, God says, "Don't you can eat anything, but don't eat of the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." So at this point, man knows nothing about good and evil because he hasn't eaten from the fruit. So he doesn't know anything about what's good or what's evil. And but if he does, then he should surely die, so says God. And the Lord God said, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him." And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam, to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So basically, everything gets its name from Adam. He got to name everything, all the creatures, and just made up names for everything. And that's where all the names come from. And then Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an help met for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, and man and his wife were not ashamed. Because at this point they don't know the difference between good and evil. They're not ashamed of being naked because they don't know any better. That's not something that is even thought about at this point, as whether that is good or bad, because they haven't eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And at this point also, that is the end of chapter 2. So we'll wrap this up here. A few things here, though, is a lot of the thought as whether or not, the whole belly button theory, because if Adam was made from dirt, or from the dust, he shouldn't have a belly button, because the belly button's what's attached to the mother's uterus to feed him. And Eve shouldn't have a belly button either, because she was made from Adam's rib. Now, the only reason that they would have a belly button is if they were created in God's image. And so if God had a belly button, then they would have a belly button, which would make sense. But then God would have had a belly button, which means God had a mother that he was born from. But that's not anything in here, but that is a theory, and this is kind of where that's tied into, is that if you ever hear the thing about the belly buttons on Adam and Eve. But that is the end of chapter 2. So we will wrap this one up. Next time I will move on to chapter 3, and we'll just continue proceeding through this thing. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.